Hi everybody, this is Laura, City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Today I have a layout that I made for a Punched Out Thursday to Die For. In a Punched Out Thursday to Die For, we use our punches and our dies to create scrapbooking pages. I highly recommend that you check out the videos of the other participants of a Punched Out Thursday to Die For. The links to the channels of Sonia, Ronnie Sue, and Kathy's channels are in the description box. Over the past few years, I guess, I've been working on an album that focuses more on me than my usual subject, which is my daughters. I used the prompts from a class that I took with Janet Fritz of Galaxy Girl Creations to create this album. And after I finished the album, which I just finished, one of my daughters mentioned that it would be really nice if I had one for each of my daughters. So I thought that that was perfectly fine. I don't mind making another one of these albums. So I'm going to be using all of the same photos, but I'm going to be scrapbooking them totally differently for the second album. Usually I work on 12 by 12 inch pages, but for this album I'm using a 6 1/4 by 8.5 inch page. Those are the measurements of the largest piece of paper that I could fit into one of these page protectors. I'm using a photo of myself when I was very little and a old collection from My Mind's Eye called Hello Gorgeous. This is one of my favorite collections. I bought a whole bunch of it because I loved it so much. I use a punch to punch out the larger circle in the upper right hand corner, but I didn't have smaller circle punches handy, so I decided to use my Creative Memories circle cutting tools. I cut all 3 circles out of this same pretty pattern paper with a light pink background and some sparkly polka dots on it. For the background, I'm using a piece of pink wood grain paper. And then I found I had a little strip of striped paper, so I placed that on the left-hand side of the layout. Using a Fiskars scalloped punch, I cut out a border strip to layer underneath the striped piece of paper, and then I tucked one of the circles that I cut out underneath those strips of paper. I'm using some Distress ink in Vintage Photo to ink the edges of all of the papers on the page. I got the idea for the composition for this page from a sketch that was made by Laura Whitaker. If you're not already familiar with Laura Whitaker's stuck sketches, I would really recommend checking them out. I'm not sure if that's something that's still available, but I know if you Google Laura Whitaker sketches, you can find some of her amazing sketches. There's just something so great about her sketches. They're very balanced and they just really appeal to my point of view. So whenever I am looking to make a composition and I can't really think of something, I will use her stuck sketches. I layered 2 pieces of paper underneath the photo. One is the same yellow paper that I used for the scalloped strip. The other one is from a card that's from the same My Mind's Eye collection. I bought a whole bunch of items in a set and the cards were part of the set, so I decided to use one of the cards as a layering piece. After looking at the layout for a bit, I decided I didn't really love those yellow strips. I decided that I would prefer them to be in that bluish green color. I used that Fiskars punch again, punched out some new strips. I put the long one to the left where the yellow strip was, and then I put the smaller one to the right of the photo to match with the placement of the scalloped strip in the sketch. At first I tried layering that blue strip on top of the yellow matting around the photo, but I didn't like the way that looked. I wanted the matting to be the same width on all 4 sides of the photo, so then I decided I would just tuck it underneath that yellow mat, and I liked that better. The sketch had 3 butterflies. I decided that that would be a nice addition to the page. I used a Martha Stewart punch. I punched out 3 yellow butterflies using that same paper that I used to mat the photo. The butterflies didn't stand out as much as I would like them to, so I used the same Martha Stewart punch and I punched out 3 more butterflies, this time in that bluish green color. I placed those behind the yellow butterflies and then offset the 2 butterflies slightly so that you would be able to see the darker color underneath, and it just helps to separate it from the background a little bit. Just like the other elements on the page, before I attached the butterflies down, I used the Distress ink in Vintage Photo to ink the edges. I used some ATG adhesive to attach the 2 butterflies together. Often when I put butterflies on my pages, I used some foam to pop them up. I want to try to keep this album a little bit slimmer, so I didn't add any extra dimension, and that's kind of hard for me because I do really love dimension. But in order to add a little something to the butterflies, I folded them in half just to make them look a little bit more like my conception of butterflies. I love including photo corners on my pages, so I used my EK Success scalloped photo corner punch, and I punched out photo corners in a couple of different colors. I was thinking maybe I would make the photo corners multicolored, but then I decided that I really liked the red photo corners the most, so I punched out a few more photo corners using the red paper. I inked the edges, and then I once again used ATG adhesive to attach those down to the page. I liked all of the different colors of the photo corners, but when I saw the red photo corner against the photo, I thought that that really stood out. There's a red chair on the right-hand side, and in the lower right-hand side, there looks like there's some kind of a toy that's in a red box, and I think that it just helped to tie everything together to have the photo corners in red. And I'm laughing at that red velvet chair because that is definitely not something I would picture my mother to purchase, but I guess it was the 60s and red velvet chairs must have been very in style. My mom had very timeless taste, but I guess it's very hard to avoid some trends. And the little green chair that I'm sitting on, I still have that set of chairs. There were 2 chairs and a table, and I used it all through my childhood, and my own children used it too, and now it's up in the attic, maybe for grandchildren someday. There were banners in the sketch on the middle circle. I decided instead of using 2 banners, I would use one very tiny one and then one small tag that was in the ephemera pack. I tucked those 2 elements underneath the photo. Then I added some strips of self-adhesive pearls, very, very tiny pearls, to the centers of each of those yellow butterflies. I also added some self-adhesive pearls to the photo corners. I just think that adding some kind of pearl or jewel to the photo corners gives the layout a finished look. Now I'm adding my title. I tried a couple of different letters, and I finally decided that these were the best for this layout. These are by Pinkfresh Studio from a collection called My Favorite Story. These are puffy letters, and I like the way they came in uppercase and lowercase, which some letter packs have, but I really liked that for this particular layout. I'm calling it Tiny L because L was the nickname my dad gave me when I was little. I thought that I should put something on that tag, so I took a very thin piece of off-white twine and I tied it in a bow on the end of the tag. I fussed with that bow for a minute just to get it the way that I wanted it to look. I'm not great at tying bows, so I have to work at it a little bit. I put a chipboard flower on top of the title, covered up my photo, and now I'm using some watered down white acrylic paint to add just a few splatters to the layout. I didn't want to add too many, but I really love adding splatters, so I thought I would just add a couple. And a moment ago, I added a pearl to the center of the chipboard flower, just so there would be some pearls spread around the layout and not just at the top. I added a few more splatters. This layout is complete, and here are just a couple of close-ups. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my video. Please don't forget to check out the videos of Ronnie Sue, Kathy, and Sonia. As I said, the links to their channels are in the description box. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.